Hello beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. If you are a new subscriber, welcome, and if you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. Everything that I used in this video will be listed down below. So I'm starting off by just adding some eyeshadow base to my lid. You can use regular concealer if you want, but this is just so that you can make sure that you have the proper base before going in with your eyeshadow. The eyeshadow that I'm using today is the NYX off Tropic. This one is Shifting Sand, and I'm just going to go in with this tan color, and that's going to be placed all over my lid, basically as a transition color. As you can see, that color doesn't show up that good, so I'm going to make sure I pack it on, not too much, but enough that it shows through. Now I'm going to go in with this deeper brown, and I'm going to place this in the outer corners, and then I'm going to blend it out. And you're going to see me stamping it into place and then blending it in, making sure that I'm staying just a little bit above that crease, but I still want that transition color to show through just a little bit. And now I'm just adding a little more, and I'm going to blend it out. And as I was blending it out, I added a little too much, but at the end you will see how I fix that. And I'm just going to continue to blend until I'm satisfied with the way everything looks. And I'm going to repeat the same steps on the opposite side, which is just stamping that color on the outer corner and then blending it towards the front. And again, I'm staying just a little bit above my natural crease and making sure that everything is nicely blended before going into my next color. And since I felt like that transition color didn't do what I wanted to do, I'm going to go in with this shade, and I'm just going to place that right above as well as a little on top of that brown. And as you see, I'm stamping it into place, and then I'm going to go ahead and blend it out. On camera, it's not really picking up exactly how it was in person, but you can see the difference clear in person. Now I'm going to go in and cut my crease, and I'm going to start off by doing the inner corner. Sometimes I do start in the center and just place a little bit in the center and look up to create a guide, but I don't need to do that every time. Sometimes I'll just do that to show you guys an easier way to do a cut crease. When doing your cut crease, you want to take your time and do like little stamping motions. You never want to rush doing a cut crease unless you don't really care how your placement is. But if you want the perfect placement each time, you want to do like little stamping motions to get it nice and even. Now I'm just going in and filling in any areas that need some concealer. I'm going to go back in with that brown shade just to clean up the edges a little bit from when I did the cut crease to make sure that everything is nice and even. Now I'm going in with that orange shade just to add a little more color to the lid, because this is a fall look. I wanted to add a little bit of orange to it, but not too much. You can build that orange up until you get your desired look. For me, I build it up just a little bit so that the orange will show through, but not too much that it's too bold. And before moving on, you want to make sure that both of those shades blend together. And for the rest of the lid, I'm going in with that orange glittery shade that's in this palette. And this just gives the eye a little pop of color without it being too much, but just right. And for some reason that color looked more like a yellow than an orange, but it is orange. And I love the way that this look came together. It's very much giving fall. And you can pack and build this color up till you get your desired shade of color that you want. Going back in and making sure that all those shades blend nicely together. You always want to make sure everything is nice and blended. You don't want to leave anything to harsh lines or patchy. And I'm just blending out those edges a little bit more before moving on to the next eye that I'm going to do off camera. Now that that's finished, I'm moving on to primer. I'm going to be using the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. This is a base that's going to allow my makeup to be nice and smooth, as well as a barrier between the foundation and the skin. Now I'm just going in with my MAC foundation. This one is NW45, and I'm just adding a couple of lines down the center of my face. And I'm mainly focusing that foundation on the areas that I have a lot of hyperpigmentation, and then I'm going to blend it out. I'm going to add more when it's needed, but as you can see, this foundation is a full coverage foundation. It also has SPF in it, so that's very good if you forget to have on some SPF underneath. But for me, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning when filming this, so I didn't really need any type of SPF. And as you can see, this foundation blends so good with my skin, and I love the fact that it's a full coverage foundation. So even if you don't want to wear a lot, you don't necessarily have to. Like for me, I did not have to add on more, but I wanted to add a little more to those areas. I'm going to repeat the same steps. And as you can see, this foundation is like the perfect match for my skin tone. And I'm just buffing this into my skin and really taking my time when doing this. You want to make sure that you're taking your time when applying your makeup so that it don't be patchy and that everything is evenly spread out. And whatever foundation is left over on the brush, that's what I add to my nose. I don't want a lot of product to be on my nose because my nose, no matter what I do, it gets the oiliest. Everywhere else be perfectly fine, and then my nose be super oily. So I try to add as little product on my nose as I possibly can. And I only add a little bit of foundation to my forehead because I already have some foundation up there from when I fixed my brows. I used foundation instead of concealer this time. But I'm going to be adding bronzer up there anyways too, so I don't need that much foundation on my forehead. Now I'm going in with concealer. I'm using the Tarte Shape Tape. This is the shade Deep, and I'm just going to use this to highlight under my eyes. You can go in with a lighter concealer if you want, but I feel like this concealer is light enough for me. I don't want my under eyes to be too bright, but bright enough. And I don't know if y'all can tell, but I didn't notice until I was editing this video that the line on my nose is a little crooked, but I did fix that towards the end. And I'm just going to use this brush to kind of fix the concealer around my brows just a little bit because I don't want to mess up my brows and have to do a lot of maintenance later on to my brows. Now I'm just using that same foundation brush to blend out that concealer. I like to use a brush instead of a sponge sometimes because a damp beauty blender sometimes soak up too much product and then you have to go back in and add more, because a sponge does exactly what it's supposed to do, soak up product. But I don't like the fact that it soaks up a little too much and then you have to add a lot more in order for you to get that coverage. And this is the part right here where I fixed the concealer on my nose, and I'm kind of spreading it over a little bit so that the line can be a lot more even. And then when I go in to add my bronzer later on, it will be properly in place. I'm going in with this triangle puff. I like using this triangle puff versus my sponge because I feel like it fits perfectly underneath my eyes. This triangle puff is a little damped only because I just washed my brushes right before this video. So I had to have it wet because the other one I threw in the trash. But I feel like the Beauty Blender does soak up way more product than the Triangle Puff does. So I prefer a Triangle Puff over a Beauty Blender. I'm going in with a little more concealer because I want more coverage as well as it to be a little more brightened. The longer you let concealer sit, the more coverage it will be. This is already a medium to full coverage concealer, so I don't need to let it sit for too long. And I'm going to go back in with my foundation brush just to blend out those edges a little bit. And then I'm gonna go back in with the triangle puff just to make sure that I'm really blending out that concealer a little bit more before going in with my powder, because I don't want to set any creasing. You're already going to have any type of creasing regardless, but you don't want to set any extra. So I'm just pressing that powder in, and look at the coverage that is given already. And this powder is a mixture of 3 different powders that I had a little bit left of each, and I just blended them together and they worked perfect for me. I almost let that concealer sit on my forehead a little too long. I'm going to add that powder everywhere that I added concealer just to set everything into place. I'm going to bake just a little bit while I add on my bronzer, just to add some color back into my face. And when you add your bronzer, you can go ahead and also add your blush or highlighter if you want. Lately I haven't been wearing any blush or highlighter. If I do have highlighter, it'll probably be on my nose and under my brow bone and my cupid's bow, but not necessarily on my cheeks. And with this bronzer, you want to make sure that you're using a little at a time, because it is very pigmented and it gives off like an orangish reddish tone. So you want to make sure that you don't put too much. For me, I put just the right amount each time. As long as I blend it in correctly, then I don't have too much to worry about the color. And I'm using my foundation brush to really blend out that bronzer a little more and really focusing on the edges to make sure that everything is nice and blended and I don't have any harsh lines. And even though I do have on bronzer, I'm also doing the reverse contour look, and I'm just adding a little powder underneath just to crispy up that line a little bit. It is optional. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I love the way it makes everything pull together, so I like to do it. And with the rest of that powder, I'm just setting that foundation that's under there. And I'm just blending that in right away because I don't want that to sit for too long. And I'm gonna go back in with another powder in just a second, right after I blend everything out. I ended up bronzing my nose off the camera because I ended up forgetting to press record. So I'm just pressing that pressed powder all over the rest of my skin. And I also added a little bit over my brows because I ran out of translucent powder. So I'm just adding a little bit to help remove some of that shine. And I'm just going to dust away that powder that's sitting under there. And I love the way that how smooth this look and how even everything look. Again, that is the mixture that I mixed together. And chances are I might do it again, even if I do have a full container, because I love the coverage that it gives. I'm going to fix the bronzer on my nose off camera as well as my brows. And now I'm going to set everything into place by spraying my face down, and I went a little heavy on this because I really wanted this look to last. And now I'm going in with a brown lip liner And I'm going to add a little bit of nude in the center since this is a fall look. And with the nude lip, I'm using the NYX Smooth Whip Matte Lip Cream in the shade Pancake Stacks, which smells so good. But you want to make sure you use a little at a time, because if you don't, it will look patchy and you don't want that. And then I'm going on top with some Fenty Gloss Bomb. And thank you all for watching. Hope y'all enjoyed this video as much as I did making it, and I will see you in the next video.